The African slaves of the 21st century are those who cannot elevate their minds above a biblical fairy tale and the silly slave syndrome myth, and learn instead of the true hidden social sciences that white oppressive forces deploys unrelentingly against us for maintaining their white social dominance and for covertly continuing the long-term oppression of black people. It's the truth they don't want us to ever learn about. Social science is one of the branches of science devoted to the study of human behavior, specifically how people interact with each other, behaves, and develops as a culture and moves forward as a society. Social sciences controls how a society functions. The white ruling elite secretly uses these social sciences to shape the society in accordance with their objectives. This includes the deployment of hidden social sciences for maintaining white social dominance, and that facilitates the white society's long-term oppression of black people. The hidden fact is that although the white government publicly professes equality for all, in reality, it's secretly unrelentingly committed towards the preservation of the nation's white social dominance. There's also an immense concern of massive unified black retribution that secretly exists amongst the white ruling elites, given the white society's long, brutal history of oppressing, discrimination, and exploitation of its black population. This unrelenting commitment towards the preservation of the nation's white social dominance and immense concern of massive unified black retribution logically resulted in white oppressive forces secretly deploying these same social sciences for maintaining white social dominance and to prevent unified black retribution against the white society. The white ruling elites are far too narcissistic to leave to chance the possibility of the erosion of the nation's white social dominance, nor would it leave to chance the possibility of black people liberating ourselves from white oppression. Because the white society's exploitation of Africans has provided it with an era of which it has flourished most throughout history. To allow this era to possibly end would be directly against the interests of the white society. Therefore, they secretly deploys hidden social sciences for maintaining white social dominance and that facilitates the long-term oppression of black people. Usually my videos are dedicated to revealing the hidden social sciences that are being secretly used to protect the white society from massive unified black retribution, such as how the white media's unrelenting negative depiction of black people that subjects us to receiving only the fraudulent worst about ourselves by negatively distorting our narratives to the point where it distorts our reality is actually a black racially demoralizing divide and rule psychological warfare campaign. It's being deployed against us because a demoralized, divided, and self-loathing black population is much more easier to control and subjugate. It's how white social engineering scientists and white propagandists prevents the black masses from engaging in acts of massive unified black retribution against the white oppressive society. However, although that's the topic that most of my contents are dedicated to, within this video, my primary focus will be on the social sciences that are being secretly used for maintaining white social dominance within the society. Social Science 101 is that all societies functions based upon the narratives that are repetitively fed into the society. Therefore, the narratives that are repetitively fed into the white dominant society are deliberately distorted to keep the society functioning in ways that aids in maintaining white social dominance within the society. In doing so, they've literally whitewashed the perception of reality itself. Most black people are now aware of the fact that the white society has whitewashed their history books to make themselves appear more relevant and lesser immoral throughout history than they truly in fact were. Most black people are also aware of the fact that they've also whitewashed their police reports after murdering unarmed innocent black people. Many black people also knows that they also whitewashes their statistics and study results to constantly favor themselves over us in order to create the perception that they are inherently superior to us. It's the way they are, it's the way they've always been, and it's the only way they know how to be. It's the inherently narcissistic and racist people they are. However, most black people are totally unaware of the fact that the white society has also literally whitewashed the perception of reality itself. The distortion of the perception of reality is much more easily achieved than most people realize. To understand the social science behind the distortion of the perception of reality, the first thing you must learn is that the public's perception of reality is not shaped based upon facts. The public's perception of reality is actually shaped by the narratives that are repetitively fed into the society. Therefore, all that's required for the distortion of the perception of reality is to merely repeatedly feed false information into the society. The public at large will then begin to function based upon the false narratives instead of the true reality. Because the white society controls all of the information that are repetitively fed to the public, they therefore literally owns the perception of reality. As a means of maintaining their white social dominance over the black population, they fed lots of false information into society that creates a false perception of reality that greatly aids in maintaining their white social dominance over the black population. Case, point, and proof. When you take the time to conduct your own research rather than blindly allowing the white society to tell you what to believe through their fraudulent news reports, you will learn that within the U.S., the largest recipients of welfare, largest benefactors of affirmative action and DEI programs, and the group that commits most violent crimes are in fact Caucasians. However, this reality is not what the masses function based upon. By repetitively feeding false information into the society, white propagandists have deliberately created the perception that those noted titles belongs to black people. Creating this false perception of reality creates and sustains false assumptions within the society that greatly aids in maintaining white social dominance over the black population. According to white social scientists, perception is more important than reality. True power lies in only what's perceived as being true for controlling people and for steering a society towards an applied objective. Because people function based upon their perception of what's true rather than what actually is true. Now, I've just demonstrated how societal narratives have been whitewashed to meet the objective of maintaining white social dominance over blacks. Now I will demonstrate how the history we've been taught has also been whitewashed to meet that same objective. White-governed schools miseducates us to believe that Thomas Edison, a white inventor, is responsible for lighting up the entire world. But the true fact is that after Edison patented his light bulb, no companies purchased it, no mass produced it. This is because it was deemed not efficient enough. It lit very dimly and only lasted a few minutes. The inventor, whose light bulb was purchased by the U.S. Electric Company in 1881, then mass produced, and that was dispatched around the world to oversee its installation, was actually, in fact, an African American named Lewis Latimer. Therefore, in reality, the true fact is there was actually a black man that lit up the entire world. Lewis Latimer literally wrote the book on electric lighting. He holds the patent for the first electric light bulb. Lewis Latimer also wrote the blueprint for Graham Bell's telephone. The white society has also miseducated us to believe that the Wright brothers are responsible for building the first aircraft in 1909. However, the hidden fact is that before the Wright brothers flew their aircraft in 1909, a black man named Charles F. Page had already invented, patterned, and flown an aircraft 3 years earlier in 1906. So the true narrative is that we have airplanes because of a black man. The white society has also taught us that Henry Ford invented the first automobile. However, it was in fact an African-American inventor named Charles Richard Patterson that built the first automobile. The C.R. Patterson and Sons Company started out as a carriage building firm in 1873. He and his sons converted the company from a carriage business into an automobile manufacturer. They started making automobiles before Henry Ford and sold the first automobile for $850. It had a 4-cylinder Continental engine. C.R. Patterson's automobiles were considered much more sophisticated than Henry Ford's. However, C.R. Patterson and Sons were forced out of business by Henry Ford in 1939. It's by deliberate design that most people are unaware of these historical facts. These facts have been deliberately expunged from the public record and have been omitted from our whitewashed history books by white exalting narratives to give whites credit for them. In doing so, they created a false perception of reality that falsely bolstered the collective self-image and collective self-esteem of Caucasians at the expense of the self-image and collective self-esteem of the black population. White historians justify this unethical practice of whitewashing all facts by merely saying that it's merely the spoils of war, thus saying that it's customary for conquerors to distort the facts and rewrite history to favor themselves. However, the true reason it's being done is much more self-serving of the white society. According to white social scientists, truth is not important for steering a society towards an applied objective. What's only important is what's perceived as being true, because people function based upon their perception of what's true rather than what's actually true, as I've stated before. Therefore, the narratives fed into our white society have been whitewashed to create and sustain a false perception of reality that aids in maintaining white social dominance within the society. This practice of distorting facts to falsely give whites credit for most inventions that were actually invented by black people has been repeated many times over throughout history. The entire history we've been taught has been whitewashed. Through the white society's monopoly over information that are fed into our society, the white oppressors have manipulated millions to believe that most inventions that revolutionized the world came from the minds of Caucasians, and manipulated many to believe that black peoples are the leeches of society that have invented much throughout history. But the truth is in fact the exact opposite from what they've manipulated millions to believe. The hidden reality is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustice of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by early inventions made by black people. Without black people, there would exist no motors, no automobiles, no airplanes, no helicopters. Without black people, we would not have skyscrapers. We only have skyscrapers because black people invented the elevator, the fire extinguisher, the fire escape ladder, air conditioning, and central heating, which are essential in order for people to live or work within skyscrapers. Without black people, there'd exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting systems. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scopes that give sight to millions around the world. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aid, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security systems, no home game cartridges, no steam engines, no traffic lights. Without black people, there would exist no refrigerators, no refrigerated trucks, therefore no ice cream trucks, no blood banks, no dry cleaning, no lawnmowers, no doorknobs, no 3D movies, etc., etc. Black people have in fact enriched the lives of nearly every person on this planet through our many inventions. But this is not the narrative that the world functions based upon. The true reality is much different than the false narratives that have been embedded into our collective minds through the white society's monopoly over information. It's actually the genius minds of black people that moves the world forward. White social engineering scientists and white propagandists have repetitively fed lots of false information into our society to create the perception that most revolutionizing inventions were invented by Caucasians. Creating and maintaining this false perception of reality greatly aids in maintaining white social dominance. However, the truth is that in order for black inventors to get their inventions mass-produced, they have no other choice other than go before white companies. These white companies acquires the rights to these inventions and then places white faces in front of the technology. The patent office has also been used for a long time to steal the intellectual property rights from black inventors. These scenarios literally allows the white society to continue exploiting the intellectual geniuses of black people while maintaining the perception that most inventions are coming from the minds of Caucasian, thus maintaining a false perception of reality that aids in maintaining white social dominance. Your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception. It's time to wake up to the reality. One love and peace.